What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Hope everybody had a good break week. Hope you all had time to check out the latest video, which included some of the theories that we've been talking about in the streams at the end, but also served as a a fun analysis going all the way back to the very beginning of the story and seeing where we could eventually go here. We're here to read One Piece 1152, break it down, see what it means. Where are we going? What are we doing? Shout out to Muhammad, appreciate the message there. D. Joel said, scary, good chapter in front of you. Alright. Gary said, like D-Stream, listen to her, folks. Hey, Luke. Shout out to everybody here. Dizza, hey, man. Alright, let's see. We'll pull this up here. Getting everything situated. Hey, Chin. Alright, page 1, chapter 1152, A Horrible Day. Oh. So we have Yamato reuniting with Kawamatsu. It would appear that Tama has made an Amigasa hat, a new hat for Kawamatsu. We do know that that is part of the Tama lore. Ulti and Pepe are still following Yamato around, interestingly enough. They're just good now. They're just good guys now. We just gotta move past all that. Alright, Ogre Child, Yamato's Golden Harvest, Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 36. Can't believe this has been going on for 36 chapters, but alright. Tama's Amigasa hat delivered to Kawamatsu, Daimyo of Hakumai. Alright. Well, that's good. Kawamatsu's a Daimyo now. Can't remember if that was already stated or not, but beats being in a cage eating fish bones, right? Whew. Next page. Hurry to the lift. Do your best with that fool, Gerd. Alright. So are they leaving Loki to Gerd or something? Take care, you guys. Ultra rare Gerd, I will give it my all. Guy's terrible. Make it snappy, hired in, we gotta go. Okay, so they're all getting inside this boat, which is going to be lifted up apparently by chains and not flown up with painters. I'll stay too, Luffy. We can't move Mr. Ya when he's so badly injured. Okay, so we had talked about this, whether or not Chopper was going to bring Scopper up, or if he was going to stay with Scopper, but at no point did we think that he was going to leave Scopper's side. Alright, thanks, Chopper. Hey, Straw Hat Luffy. Alright, what important information that we need to know going into this will this man give us? This is his opportunity to bestow information that we actually need. Don't let me down, Oda. Let me down. Let this man say something. Something meaningful. Something about their powers. Something about the region. How do we get past it? Something about hockey. Don't let me down. All right. Make a mental note of how you use your color of the Supreme King. Make a mental note of how you use your Conqueror's Haki. They are not immortal. Thanks, I've got this one. I'm going to save Colin and everyone else. Alright. Still cryptic, but... on a sliding scale up to 100% of how I feel about this, this is like 60% useful. Which is better than... it's an okay percentage. You've helped me see the sense of it, Gaban. I wasn't able to verbalize my own power. And in that case, I've experienced it for myself. Holy Knights can be stopped. Undo my cuffs and take me with you, Hyrule. You're going to fight for Elbaf? Not taking you anywhere. Seems like there's more than one of you with Conqueror's Hockey. Who, me? Yeah, I had a feeling. I'm tired of Mosshead and Jinbei stealing all my glory. This is a good Sanji moment. I like this. You there, swordsman. You seem quite at ease with it. Wait, I can use Conqueror's Hockey? Okay. So now we're getting into like the 90-100% territory of useful information. What? You didn't know that? It's flowing out of you. Unbelievable. Hockey is a power that's only useful when you consciously control it. How do you expect to support your captain and Emperor of the Sea without knowing that? Sorry. Okay, this is what I love. This is what I wanted. I want hockey information from this man. But it's also like, didn't Kaido say it out loud? Why is he acting like he didn't know this information? Kaido told him. Hey, Gramps, what about me? This is pathetic, Ireton. You'd rather have outsiders save our homeland? Elbaf already has me. Is that a fact? Because I can certainly see you betraying Elbaf and joining the side of the government instead. You more or less did that already once. How could I possibly trust you? Hey, Ireton. Wasted time means more victims. Hey, Loki.
Nan to you big news!
Join my crew, man. Then can we set him free, Hyrule? Forget about it, Luffy. There's no way this enormous freak fits on our ship. Exactly. Oh my god. What about the food? He eats more than you. Come on, it sounds like Elbaf doesn't want you around anyway. I think it'd be fun with you, and if anybody's got a problem, I'll whoop them. Shut your mouth, Pipsqueak. Why would I ever be a henchman for you? Is that what your instinct tells you, Straw Hat? I want to see him fight. Ireton, what's the holdup? We gotta use the lift. I'm coming now. I'm sorry, Straw Hat, but Elbaf has condemned Loki to death. You can't have him. Ah, darn. Ireton. Go and unlock Loki's change. Not you too, Mr. Yao. Why do you say this? Loki killed 113 soldiers in the castle 14 years ago. Gave Chief Jarl a most grievous wound and slaughtered his own father. His crimes are monstrous and historic in scale. I know, but the day it happened, we felt an extreme abnormal hockey from the castle. Shanks and I headed for Auru's castle together. We didn't see the whole thing, but we were there. You what? Did you say Shanks? Sorry, Stanson, you'll have to go up first. Zoro, Sanji, will catch up with you soon. Shanks obsessed fool. What? Don't call Shanks a fool. He was talking about you, fool. Gaban. Who better to tell the story than Herald? Still brothers, even if your mothers are different. You have 3 minutes to explain everything. What happened in the castle that day 14 years ago, Loki? If you're a true warrior of Elbaf, then swear by the name of God and speak the truth. Next page. This is a cruel demand, brother. You want me to relive that event? I'd rather not remember the details. It was a horrible day. Someone's coming from the sky. It's flashback time.
It's about to get spicy.
"14 years ago, Auru's castle, Elbaf. Oh no, Loki. I mean, Prince Loki has returned. Chief Ja Rule is here as well. He summons you too, Loki. It's cool seeing the hammer in that shot there. Good glory. Hey, we're family. You're looking good though, old man. Just try not to live too long, huh? Shut your mouth. His Majesty is in the throne room. What does he want with me anyway? No interest in a man who'd sell his soul to the world government. These are the people who killed rocks. Okay? People who killed rocks. Rocks is mentioned. If Elbaf is going in that direction, they'll make an enemy. Lower your volume. I'm an old man now. I'd rather leave the politics to the younger folks. That lackadaisical attitude is exactly the problem. It's how you end up with peace-addicted children with no idea how to swing a weapon. Next page. That's the age we live in. My granddaughter's granddaughter doesn't fight, and she's adorable. Soft though duller. Train her up. Use some discipline. What's that ruckus? It's coming from the throne room. Chief Ja Rule, thanks for coming. And Loki. Prince, welcome back. Yeah, I heard that. Just a minute. Let me check with the king. Just open the damn door, you clown. Summon me here. This is my home. Stop. No violence, your highness. Hey, Pop, I'm back. Huh? Your Majesty. As expected. We talked about this. Been infected with the Abyss.
Another one.
Herald, what's going on in here? Next page. Oh, wait. Could we see Shanks? There's a possibility. Next page here. The Sun World. Gaban's house. The view's simply enormous. This place is the best. Ain't it? Been a while since we shared a good bath together. Okay. Well, funny enough, I mean, wasn't that part of the Odin flashback that they were all in a onsen together at one point? So we got Shanks. Been a while since, what's it been, 3 or 4 years? Oh, these guys bathe together frequently. I was going back, you know, like 30 years, but this is... Are you kidding? Captain died 10 years ago. Has it really been that long? Must feel like an eternity for you then. Yeah, my life's changed entirely. The plan was to join up with Buggy, lead a laid-back pirating life. But even here in Elbaf, there's so much more to learn. He's already got his scars. Wait a second. I had to check for a second. I had to go back to chapter 1 because I was just like, did Shanks have his scars in chapter 1? Like, alright. Because that was going to like mess things up for me. I had forgotten about that. Alright. He did. You're a child of fate, Shanks. Don't bother thinking over the tricky little details. Remember Little Garden? The island where we met Dorian Brogy? Of course. That's next page had like a jump scare with the Ripley in the window here. How's the water feel, Mr. Young? Shanksy. I'm glad Shanks had some of the similar reaction to me. Because me going to the next page and just seeing a giant face. Feels great. Thanks, Ripley. She seems to like it when I'm at eye level like this. I guess this is how you have to design your house if you want to live with a giant, huh? I've got a lingonberry tart for you. Have some wine with it if you like. Tell me some stories about Ya's younger days, Shanksy. Oh boy, the tales I could tell. At every single port of call, Gaban had a different Hey, you want to leave this island alive? You know much about King Herald? We worship him like a god here in Elbaf. Yes, I met him. In the Holy Land? We got along all right. Shanks, what you doing there, buddy? Talking about certain pirates? But there was something we couldn't talk about in the Holy Land. So if he's back home, I'd like to meet him and discuss it before it's too late. On this day, there was a massacre in the castle. The most beloved king in Elbaf's history, wise King Herald, perished. What's that? Let me out. Who blocked the door? Help. Chief Ja Rule. This is the treasure of Elbaf, the forbidden devil fruit. What was it that caused people to praise him so? We talked about this too. If that's Luffy's fruit, in that case, we talked about this. Things are lining up. Next page. For that, we must go far back in time. Flashback within a flashback? 109 years before the present, when the question of what is the most frightening thing on the sea would elicit a unanimous answer. The giant pirate crew were the most widely feared figures of the day. At the same time, the royal ship from the land of giants, this giant ship, only enhanced the fear the world felt towards Elbaf. Here there's a beautiful princess in the castle. Take a look. Hey, a major reason for that King of Warland, Elbaf Island, Herald. Bada, ha ha ha. Was that Herald, King of Elbaf, who ascended the throne at just 45 years old, 15 in human years. Was undeniably a low-life scumbag. Who's your god now? Okay. So we started this chapter with Zoro getting called out, which only further emphasizes that these particular characters need a training arc so that they can get a hang of all of this hockey or learn it, depending on who we're talking about. I do like that Sanji, wants it as well, which could be hinting that eventually he'll get a hold of it. Luffy asks Loki to join his crew, which I don't think actually will happen, but he'll, as I've said from the beginning of the arc, he'll be a character that helps us, but and as we've also talked about, all of this stuff with him killing Herald and everything like that is just, it's the Odin flashback all over again. It's everybody saying a bunch of things, but the truth is the opposite. So, I mean, look how casually Loki and Jaru were strolling through the castle. Like, no one was running away from him 14 years ago. They're only scared of him now because they didn't understand what was going on. But what this chapter has done for me is it's made me really like Scopper, because even though like he's been really dancing around different things like since we've met him, this is the chapter where he's kind of sitting there like, you know what? Everything going on up there probably paints a different story of what happened 14 years ago, so I'm gonna lean in here and give this the benefit of the doubt. And I'm glad we're not dragging things on any longer. I want him to, just let's get it all out. And we may not get or need to get the like specifics of what happened inside the room. I mean, I feel like it paints enough of a picture. Like, he was corrupted by the world government. He was turned by Emu. And Loki actually saved the day, which is good. I do love all this Shanks and Gaban stuff. It's really good to, you know, just get a different piece of these stories and all that kind of stuff. I mean, narratively speaking, with these flashbacks and everything, it's just kind of awkward going from Loki supposedly trying to relive this day into like an omniscient narrator going into this stuff that Loki would not remember, to then going into a flashback within a flashback of seeing Herald 114 years ago. You know, now I want more information as to why Shanks was in the Holy Land, you know? And I do still believe that it was Shanks in chapter 907, 908, or whatever, who wanted to talk about a certain pirate. I don't think that was Shamrock, because I feel like Shamrock wouldn't have needed to wear a cloak in that room. He would have just walked in. So... I wonder whose shadow they're trying to paint is looming over the chest with the devil fruit. I do like the idea that maybe the world government, you know, like got Luffy's fruit here. And then that's what caused Shanks to like go after the government ship, have an interaction with Who's Who, get the fruit, and then he was probably maybe going to deliver it back to Elbaf, but Luffy ate it. So context on all this stuff that leads back to chapter 1 is always great. But I didn't have a Dory Brogy young Herald flashback on a bingo card at all. So it's interesting what they're going to try and tell us, you know, 109 years ago. I wonder if this will eventually tie into the Mother Carmel scene that we saw at the Holy Land, where she convinces all of them to let them go. And I actually wonder, I kind of want to look at the timeline to see how many years after where we end this chapter that scene happens. I'm sure somebody's already done that math. Someone said that Shanks has a tattoo. And I see it here. I didn't pick that up on the read, but he does have a tattoo on his left arm. So that's why we've never seen it. I don't recognize the symbol as anything that ties into anything that I remember. Does anybody have any theories on the tattoo? It's a tattoo of Holy Knight lineage, maybe. Let's take a look at the chat. Shout out to Locus. Appreciate the super. Said, Gaban, it's been 3 to 4 years. Shanks, it's been 10 years. Elbaf is 3 times faster. Cover story shows us how much time passes outside Elbaf. Crew at Elbaf equals a few days. Yamato journey through all of Wano. I think you're missing something there. So the way I read it was Gaban was saying it's been 3 to 4 years since they've had a bath together. And Shanks was saying it's been, that it's been 10 years since Roger died. So they're talking about 2 different experiences. Bathing together and when Roger died. So I don't think it has anything to do with this like idea that, Elbaf is... I don't know why Oda put that like thing that is making everybody think that time moves differently on Elbaf. That does need to get, clarified and understood what what that means. Would I love it if it was a hyperbolic time chamber where they could all just, get a bunch of training out? Yeah, that's great. But it seems like it would be the reverse, where everything is moving. Like they would train or whatever there, and it would be, too late on the outside. Like the hyperbolic time chamber was you go in and you come out and only a day has passed. But the implication here is that like they could, do all this training. Let's say it's hyperbolic time chamber. Like they're training for a year, they come out, it's been 10 years. That's bad. Not that that's what I'm saying it is. I'm not. So. Kev Dogs in the chat, he said Scopper was speaking the truth to Zoro, and I respected that. Yep. Here, shout out to Vasil Vladivanovici. Supered said, I wonder how Loki will react if or when he finds out that Luffy's grandfather is at least part responsible for Zebek's defeat and death. That's a good point. It's probably one of the reasons why he resents Shanks, right? Because Roger was his rival. So... But I think that that's going to be, like, clearly Loki has an intense will, right? He's got Conqueror's Haki and all of this other stuff and everything that kind of, like, goes with that. So it's like, if Luffy can turn Loki into, like, a believer of Luffy, into a follower, in the same way that Hyruden has become, in the way that technically Zoro, who has a Conqueror's spirit, follows Luffy, then, it's just more gas for Luffy to be the Pirate King, because technically, out of a lot of the people that we've met, the dream isn't to become the Pirate King, he wants to be king of the world, but that means that in some way Loki is Luffy's competition in a way. So getting him on board, Luffy gas. And I don't mean on the ship. I don't, like, we already know he physically will not be able to get onto the Sunny. But, Final War or whatever, fighting on the side of Luffy, possibility. Barry said that she had to reread certain panels a couple times over, didn't want to miss anything, only to miss the mark in the arm and go insane when she did see it. Have we... A lot of people saying it's something tied to Holy Knight lineage, symbol of the abyss. Have we actually seen it in the story? Okay. Blue Blah said, check chapter 1140, final panel. It's the same symbol on Summer's armband. Let's see. Looking at 1140 right now. Yep, sure enough. It opens right up to panel of Summers when he's got his clothes on. And there's the symbol on his left arm. Technically in the exact same position as where Shanks has the symbol. And you could technically say that Killingham has the symbol on his left arm. I'm going to take this a step further, right? So the symbol is a circle with an X. Killingham's has like a different sort of affectation to it as well, but for the most part, it's a circle with an X on the left arm. X's on left arms. No circle. Alabasta. Mark of the Fellowship. Mark of Friendship. Also, just came back around, right? With Vivi putting the X on Luffy's arm in the newspaper. Now, I can only assume that Gunko also has this on her left arm, so I'm going back to other chapters to try and find an area. The panels I'm seeing have her like left shoulder covered by her cloak, so I'm trying to find one that maybe doesn't. Try and look at more recent ones. That's where she was like more active. Okay. Yeah, you can't see it because her cloak is covering her arm all the time. But she does have a bandage around her left arm when Emu takes control of her, which I can only assume is where the mark would be. Crazy to me that Shanks would just embrace that. Like, he's living this pirate life, but then he's also probably, like, going and saying hi to Dad and his brother and all this kind of stuff. I wonder if it's something that he let them put on him later on, or if it's something that he's had since he was a baby, like that it's like a branding thing that happened to him as a kid. At which point, it also kind of signifies, like, there's other layers to this, right? With it being the arm that gets bitten by the Sea King to save Luffy, and him saying that he betted on the New Age, like, in a way, it's him renouncing that symbol. You know, if we're trying to say that there's some sort of higher power, higher calling in this world, or whatever that's tied to Luffy, if he's the, you know, the prophecy child that's going to usher in and bear the flag of this new dawn, new age, new era, the symbolism of his life being traded for Shanks's arm that had that symbol on it. You know, there's some layers there that could eventually come to light as we dive deeper into this. So I'm glad people pointed out that mark, and I'm glad that people reminded me that it's what's on Summers and Killingham's arms, and likely the rest of the Holy Knights. And was it on... I didn't go back to anything that Shamrock, but I can only imagine Shamrock had it on him too. Now I want to go back to a Shamrock chapter. Sorry that I'm getting carried away with all this stuff about the symbol here and stuff, guys, and not really looking at chat, but I mean, like, there's just stuff to take a look at, stuff to kind of get a handle on. I'll be back to looking at chat in a second. Alright, I'm looking at 11:37 now. Well, Shamrock's got a cloak too, hiding his left arm. So chances are it's there, but we just can't see it because, like Gunko, he's got a cloak on. All the way back to 1140. Yeah. Cool. Oda's trying to tell us things. You gotta love it. Alright, taking a look at chat. Locust said Lord of the Coast beats Emu's invincibility. Kevdog said, Randy, you're talking in spoilers, bro. Which part? Because I'm only looking at chat now, so I don't know which part we're referring to. Shout out to Davon, aka Schoolboy Beat, said time is only accelerated on Elbaf. Herald, 45-15. I mean, I think that's sort of like the, you know, the cat ears, you know, dog ears kind of thing. P.S. Superden said the first person Luffy liberated was Shanks, technically. Luke said, if you don't like spoilers, never listen to Randy's streams. The man's too damn good at plot threads. Kev said, the talking spoilers was a reference to the X and the God Knight symbol being a parallel. I mean, you know, for us to start the arc with it and then have this symbol kind of pop up too, like, Oda's doing something. As usual. As usual. He's doing something. Kev said, it's interesting that many people theorize that Ace should have found the fruit, but now things are changing with Elbaf connections. Well, I still like the idea that if there is some sort of prophecy that Shanks could have believed that Roger's son was the one that was supposed to have the fruit. Like, I am of the believer that, you know, the story is leading us to some sort of prophecy that, you know, is now, right? Like, why did Toki go into the future? You know, what is the idea of, you know, we're too early, right? Speaking of Poseidon, it's like, oh, she's not born yet. She's not going to be born for, you know, another X amount of years. Like, so it's like, okay, well, then you need all of the ancient weapons have to be around to kind of handle all of this. So it just, you know, people don't want this to be a chosen one story or whatever, but I think it is. I think it's wrong to push it against that idea when everything else in the story is kind of trying to tell us that Luffy, whether he wants to or not, is that chosen person. But it is interesting, you know, like Oda does the fake outs where people think one thing and then they're wrong. So it's like, whether or not Shanks wanted to get that fruit to bring it back to Elbaf, or because he was looking for Ace and wanted to give Roger's son an opportunity to be the person that Roger couldn't be, that Shanks is, you know, aged out from being. And then, as fate would decide, it's actually Luffy's going to be this person. But, you know, there's still opportunities to have Ace be tied to this stuff. And then, you know, I don't know how canon I'm supposed to consider this or whatever, but when you take the Ace story, right, that is that was drawn by Boichi, Ace and Mass Deuce, like, they're on a giant pirate ship and then magically come across the Maramara no Mi, right, which was left in a chest that the giants had, with, you know, almost implying that the fire fruit could be something, you know, like important as well. And it's not in the main canon, but it's something that, like, I can't help but consider. And it's like, is there, you know, how long was that ship there? Was that ship in that 14-year area and then, like, crashed onto Sixus because it was looking, it wanted to get the Goma Goma no Mi back, the Hito Hito no Mi Madonika, you know, or how long was the Maramara no Mi, like, out of circulation? You know, could that end up being a part of this story? You know, like, was it there for 109 years or something like that? And I missed it in chat, but did someone, has anybody done the timeline thing between the Carmel thing and where we end in this chapter? Fate is very interesting too, because Scopper's saying that Shanks is a child of Fate. Is a thing throughout, and especially, you know, I talk about it all the time with Blackbeard's crew. They are always bringing up Fate, so. Snow thinks the fire fruit was the fruit Rocks ate. I mean, based on the Jolly Roger on the ship, I've theorized that as well, or suggested that Rocks could have been a Lunarian and then would have already had access to fire powers. Brandon said, I like that Shanks gave up his darkness for the sake of a new era, because that's what Elbaf is doing currently. No. Alright. I'm actually gonna look at the timeline that Artur has on his website, because I want to see this caramel thing. I like knowing, I think knowing the timeline of events of stuff is sometimes a big clue into understanding the story. Carmel was born 143 years ago. Okay, so she's 34 at the start of where we're ending. Carmel begins trafficking children 113 years ago. Okay. So, 109. (1424), 100 years ago. The remnants of the giant warrior pirates are captured by the Marines. However, during their execution in Marineford, the nun Carmel pleads to the Marines to spare them in the name of peace to avoid further conflict. Alright, so 9 years after where we are. And then we are 7 years from Dory and Brogy starting their duel. This is interesting. If Morley is ever supposed to be important to the story or anything here with Elbaf, if Morley is a part of this flashback, we could see them get captured, because this time period is around when they got imprisoned and impaled down and created level 5.5. Let's see. Interesting. Okay. Let's take a look at this last page again. 109 years before the present. Giant pirate crew. Even though we see Dory and Brogy at the end, I don't know how much of an impact they're actually going to have on this story. I think we're going to be following Herald. I think that's actually the implication now that I'm rereading. Because it's like we're starting and we're seeing like what the Giant Warrior Pirates are doing. But then we skip to a whole other thing. The royal ship from the Land of Giants. So it's saying a different thing. While they're doing their own thing, Herald was doing his own thing. Harold's tattoo across his eyes. Haven't we seen that before? I thought maybe Wiper, but it's like kind of similar, but not. But I feel like 2 lines across the eye. I feel like I have seen that though. Or am I wrong? Ripley has something similar. That's where I'm seeing it. And what have I been saying about Ripley? That Ripley is a daughter of Herald as well. That's like one of my favorite things to say about all this. And I don't think that that was something I came at. I think someone brought that up in chat, and then I've just been riding with it because it works for me. This is cool. Let's see. That makes Cologne royalty then. Yeah, exactly. Cologne's the princess of the arc. I've gotten into it in a couple of the streams that like Ripley being another child of Herald, you know, when we know that Herald was out here. He was aggressively out here. So it's I'm just saying, there's layers. Galaxy thinks the princess we are at the end of the chapter will turn out to be Loki's mom, and she will convert Herald. But Loki is 63, 66, something like that. And we're 109 years from here, so I can't imagine that... Let's see. Well, Loki's first line is, "I hear there's a beautiful princess in the castle. Take a look," right? It's the very first line. Just goes to show how aggressive this man is for having offspring. I think that there's a possibility that whatever princess is at the end of this thing or whatever becomes the, maybe the queen of Elbaf for a time, but then dies. Or Herald really was just cheating, and that's what, spawned Hyrudan. But because Loki is considered a legitimate son, but Hyrudan is older. So either there was a legitimate queen at one point and died, and then Herald had an illegitimate affair, or there was one consistent queen throughout, he had an affair, or Herald never actually married anybody until right before Loki was born. So don't know. But I do think that it is not out of the question that Herald has other children. And considering that Ripley is also one of the people that is stuck to this idea that, the kids these days should be fighting, she's part of that old world mentality. I buy that she would be Herald's daughter. Cologne also, being the one kid, right, that is a little more aggressive than the others, that is willing to fight, that has, some extra will to him, coming from a strong lineage, which is not unheard of for even Luffy, right? He comes from a great lineage of people. So I do think that Ripley will, that'll be like a twist, and there may even be another person that ends up, maybe Herald had an older child, that was born here or something. Maybe they died. I don't know. We'll see. But it's also interesting that, it implies that Herald is on Elbaf right now at the end here, looking for a princess. Don't you live on Elbaf? Aren't you? You're the is the Oda box just saying that Herald is the king of Warland and Elbaf, and that he is not on Elbaf? Because the crazy thing is that Herald is stepping on giants, but then there are other human characters underneath. So I'm kind of confused with the geography of what island is he on at the end? He sailed a ship somewhere, so he shouldn't be on Elbaf. But wherever he is, there are giants. Or are those his retainers that he's just kicking into? Are they trying to stop him from doing some sort of I think that's what it actually is. So he's sailed his royal ship to a different island because he heard there was a beautiful princess in a castle somewhere. Whatever retainers he has with him that are giants are trying to stop him from doing, an international crime and stealing a princess from some foreign land, and then he is stepping on them because he's going to do what he wants. That's probably what it is. Catching up on the chat now. KevDoc says personal theory is that it could be one of the places from the Reverie, probably inspired by Germany or Russia. Maybe. I love knowing what islands we're on, which is a shame that we didn't get a box for that. Beat Gamer said that Hyruden's mom was a giant from another tribe. Leonard Martins thinks Herald will meet Saul and Hyruden's mom in the same island. You think Saul's gonna play a role in this Herald stuff? How old is Saul? Saul is 127. So he'd be like technically 3 years older than Herald, I think. 4 years older. Right? Are we saying that he's like 14 in human years? Or something? What did it say? Oh, 15 in human years. But still 45 years old in like actual time though. Wait, I'm confused. I'm so confused by this age thing right now. It's like it's breaking my mind because Colin is 20, but he looks like he's 10 years old. And he was still a baby 14 years ago because Ripley's holding him. So on a timeline, was Herald born 15 years before this or 45 years before this? I'm inclined to think that he's been alive for 45 years here in the same way that Loki was born 63 years ago. 66, whatever it is. Because it's the difference between Saul being 18 years old during this and being 3 years older than Herald, or being, 20-something years younger than him. "45 years. Okay, yeah. So Saul is younger than Herald. Luke said, hey, super off topic, but about the library burning, has anybody brought up that the owl can change the size of things and may save the books by making them tiny? Yes. Yeah, we have that has been brought up a couple of times. And I do love that idea. I would love if, there was some sort of central figure that was also helping facilitate that, not just the owl, but yeah, that it's a possibility for how some of those books do survive. Basically, if Saul was in this flashback, he would look like Kalon. He would look like these Elbaf kids because he's only 18. So he's technically 2 years younger than Colin at this point. So be interesting if like he plays a role of like the small kid inspired by Herald or something. That might be interesting. But then again, like he didn't grow up on Elbaf. He's from a completely different tribe and race. So I don't know if we'll see Saul in this. Kip/Seaway said Herald is a menace is what I'm getting from all of this. You know, but it goes to show that everything that people say in this story should be taken with a grain of salt as a lie. It's like, if someone says something, until we get the flashback, we have to think the opposite, right? Everybody's saying Herald was such a good guy, he was the best, he was great, blah, blah, blah. We see the flashback, the guy, Oda tells us that in literal words, he's a scumbag. So everybody says, wow, Loki's awful, Loki's awful, Loki's awful. Pull the veil from the eyes. Loki's actually misunderstood. Maybe not good, but for all intents and purposes, not evil. So, you know, which is why I still stand by Sengoku telling a room full of people that Rox was a bad guy and wanted to destroy the world. Until I see that flashback and I see Rox in person, I have, like, the story has told me enough times that when someone tells me something, I have to think the opposite. Rox was a good guy. He wanted to save the world. And if that's the case too, he inspired Loki, so Loki probably isn't a bad guy and is actually good. And you don't put someone like Whitebeard on someone's team who is good if their captain's not good. Odin, all of the people saying he did this, he did this, he did that, and he didn't. You know, it's all a matter of perspective. Every single one of those things was him saving people, etc. Barry, member for 49 months, said Loki is Elbaf's princess, and I will die on that hill. All right. Luke said, really hoping we see Rox in the flashback. I wanted the flashback to be more focused on Loki as a kid, and in which case that would be the reveal of Zebek, because he would be the Shanks for Loki, and it's like, it's kind of the more interesting flashback to me, but Oda wants to jump even further back in time and tell us about Herald. But, you know, maybe we start here and this flashback goes 3 or 4 chapters and we get to the point where Loki is born and we get to the point where Loki is inspired by Zebek, and then something that Zebek inspired, you know, Loki to do informs him taking out his father, right? Like that's the way to bring Zebek into the story. So it's like Zebek would have had interactions with the Holy Knights, you know, the Gods Knights, whatever, would know secrets of the world that other people wouldn't, because otherwise, why have this character at all? And then imparts some of that information to Loki, and something he says triggers, you know, like a memory or whatever while he's fighting his own father, and maybe something that Zebek tells him is what gives him the secret to kill his father. Emil, member for 49 months, said, depending how long it is, we could get Gunko and Brook. Maybe. Because Brooke would be born like 20, 19 to 20 years after this. And then we'd technically have to jump at least 40 years after this in order to get any of that. 40 to almost 50 years. 40 something years probably. I'd rather that be a separate flashback, to be honest. Things are going to get way too muddied if we start throwing that kind of stuff, like merging the flashbacks together. Kevdog said, I got a message in my stream earlier. Do we think the giant warrior pirates were mercenaries and Rocks worked with them, a la Buggy working with Hiredin's crew? I don't know if the timeline works for that. Aether said I'm banking on a Kureha cameo. It's Kureha, the princess in the castle. You want to know the secret to my youth? Just living on Elbaf. And then we get this whole time dilation thing actually means something. Kureha would have been 32 here. Catching up here. Korea Lord drop would be insane. Javed said, "Watch Korea be someone's mom." I mean, I've talked about that a lot. In 141 years, like she could be a lot of people's moms. I do believe, and I do stand by, that at some point in the story, Kureha will be important again. And I do believe that it would make sense if we find out in the story that she is either the parent of somebody important or was romantically involved with somebody important. Because it just feels like there's a lot of untold stuff there. Why are you hiding out in, as a mountain witch and drum, And Just simply put, you live that long, you got a whole life. Goldie Roger. Oh, that's what they're calling him now? You know about the Will of D? Like Kureha is ingrained in the story to be important at some point, and it's about time we get there. Joel said, Randy, soon we'll see if Memories is being played in the background for running Kuma Flashback. I think it's the perfect song. I wouldn't put it for, you know, Roger finding the One Piece. I would have done something different. I feel like when I hear Memories, like it gives me this melancholy feeling of nostalgia. Because it takes me back to 2002, 2003, whatever, like watching One Piece for the first time. Like it gives me memories. And, you know, it's like, it's almost bittersweet. I don't associate the song with like accomplishing something like finding the One Piece. There's like a finality to the song in a way. So it being the lead up to Kuma's death would feel, for me personally, a more appropriate song, and I said that when it all happened. So now that it's, I haven't watched anything from the Kuma Flashback yet. I want to run through it all in a binge. So you'd say, oh yeah, Loki had a different hammer in the flashback than the one he has now. You know, I called it out. I was like, oh, yeah, look at the view of the hammer here. But I can't imagine that he would, like, he was locked up after this, so it would have to be the same hammer. It can't be different. It might just be Oda retconning whatever he already like did with the hammer. Yeah, I'm looking at the other panel where he attacks with it, and it just seems like a solid block and doesn't have the lines on it. But here's the thing too, right, is that if we're I'm gonna say that it's not a different hammer, only because the lore behind Mjolnir in Norse mythology is that it is a size changing hammer. Like, it is able to change shape and size. So if we're keeping that and it ends up being some sort of mystical weapon that can do that, then what we're seeing is just a different version of Ragnir before it's activated and, you know, goes into its attack mode or something. I don't know. Drew Beats supered and said, be nice if the Revolutionary Army were responsible for a memorable event in the series. What have they been doing this whole time? Having meetings. They're not really responsible for any memorable events. Well, they did attack the Holy Land during the Reverie, which I would say for the, you know, the larger world of the story and everything, whether or not we spent enough time to feel personally that it was a big attack, To the government, it would be considered a memorable event. To the celestial dragons that are now not eating any food, that would be considered a memorable event. We're unlikely to see them in this particular flashback because Dragon's not even born, and won't be for like 50 years. So 70. All right. Somewhere between 60 70 years from now. But yeah, they have to do something. And at this point, it's probably more probable that Sabo will end up doing more than Dragon. And then we'll find out in a flashback something Dragon did to become the world's most wanted criminal. Cone Killer said Hiroshi Kidadani covered Memories and his strong last scene of the show vibes. See, now that's the thing. Like, I can see Memories being last scene of the show vibes. I want to hear that cover. Do I want to wait? No, I want to hear it. Guardian Trees, Super said, World Tree has 3 sections on its trunk. Base wider, time flows normal. Heaven Realm, it's slimmer outside time and below, goes faster. Same for Heaven Realm. You know, if we wanted to get into the idea of like space and, you know, like the interstellar of it all, like, you know, time moving differently in different planes of existence or whatever, like, we want to get into that aspect. Like, the higher we go, like, we get into the Heaven Realm, we go to the moon, like, time moves differently there, like, you know, a second is a year or whatever. Then I'm with it, because like we're leaving the atmosphere of the world or something along those lines. But I don't know. I think getting into a lot of stuff like that complicates things. You know, you start potentially, there's so much math involved that you can create a paradox. You know, it's why you know, Oda specifically took like Toki's fruit, right, and made it the anti-paradox fruit in a way. Like, you can only go into the future. You can't disrupt the past and change things. You know, it's why, even though there's still paradoxical elements in the Terminator, by going back in time, it's like, was Kyle Reese always John Connor's father, or did sending Kyle Reese back in time like kill John Connor, and a new child was born that just happened to have been a boy that was named John Connor, and because of the events grew up to become, you know, the leader of the resistance. But in the same time, it's like, you're not bouncing back and forth, at least in the original movies, to different time periods. You're not building time machines and doing things and creating paradoxes. Doing things where we have time moving slowly and all that, that's a lot of stuff to track. Okay, well, they were here for how long, and that's how many years? How would that be here? What would be going on here? That's a complicated thing to add to a story, and I don't know if Oda's going to do that. The Will of Dreams thinks that Ragnar is a poneglyph and may be the final road. Luffy heard it with voice of all things, not observation. Aki, Zoro, and Sanji didn't hear it. I mean, that'd be a good twist. Luke said, "Happy belated Father's Day to all dads out there. Happy Father's Day to you too, man." All dad motifs in One Piece. Bummed we didn't get a chapter last week to hang out. Yeah. Well, this chapter was about some dads for sure. A lot of people talking about Korea. I mean, is anybody saying that Korea could be this princess? I would not rule it out as a possibility. Let's take another look at this chapter here. Maybe the last look here. See if there's anything else that I want to talk about. Chat, you bring up your stuff that you want to talk about, and then we'll wrap up and reconvene for the rest of this flashback, or more of the flashback. Hopefully not the end of the flashback. Let's continue. You know, let's drag this on for 2 to 4 chapters. And really get some lore, get some information before we get back into the fight of our lives against Emu. Let's see. Okay, so they're gonna get on this lift. It's implied that Zoro and Sanji might be getting up there before Luffy does. Luffy will be making a grand entrance with Loki and Hiruden. So Sanji and Zoro be going up with the other new giant warrior pirates, and we'll probably get trashed, to be honest. It's so confusing reading the Viz and seeing Supreme King Hockey. Just say Conquerors, come on. I love Scopper putting Zoro in his place. How do you expect to support your captain, Emperor of the Sea, without knowing that? Ugh. You know what's an interesting thing that I don't know, is anybody talking about this panel of Sanji after he like asks what about me? Because it seems out of place, right? But I could read into this here. So on page 5, you have after he like drills into Zoro. Says, "Hey Gramps, what about me?" and gets cut off by Loki yelling, "This is pathetic, Hiruden. You'd rather have outsiders save our homeland? Elbaf already has me." Then we cut to Sanji. And his like cigarette is about to fall out of his mouth. He's not paying it. This is not a reaction to what Loki is saying. This is a reaction to whatever Scopper is telling him off screen. Like, you know, we're trying to focus on Loki, you know, yelling at Herald in here, but there's definitely something happening here between this conversation between Scopper and Sanji. Whether he's saying yes or no, he's telling him something here that is interesting. And of course, if you're going to tell me that the wings of the Pirate King had Conqueror's Haki, right? Rayleigh has it. Scopper has it. Sanji's got it. Like, he's just... He has to have it. Like, there's no way to do the perfect mirror without it. And that's not just, you know, Sanji Cope or anything like that. Like, this thing here, and then also, you know, like, Oda also does this thing where he has, like, you know, he makes the background white and then puts little, like, black dots, like, floating in the distance, like when he's trying to convey something important. But he wants you to not look at this shot of Sanji reacting to whatever Scopper's telling him. So I don't know if anybody's taking the time to really... Most people are probably not looking at that panel. So I'm glad I went back and took a moment to look at that. I also like that, you know, we have Piraten yelling at Loki that he thinks that he'll betray them for the government, and then specifically having Loki during his flashback talking about how much he hates the government. So see, I like this too, because it's like Scopper talking about the extreme abnormal haki from the castle. He's able to discern levels of haki. He would be able to realize that whatever he is feeling up top is similar to what he felt on that day, which is what's making him say undo Loki's chains. Because it's like he's saying his intuition, his haki intuition, is basically like, okay, I see things clearer now. Loki has been innocent this entire time. But one thing is for sure, I know there's a lot of trouble going up there. But they should let that man take a shower and clean himself up before he goes there, because he has been sitting there for 6 years in his own filth. So that's crazy, and that's... Let that man take a, you know, like a little quick dip into even the ocean. Well, he ostensibly has a devil fruit, so maybe that's not the way to go about it. Anyway, like this bath that Scopper and Shanks are having, that is exactly what Loki needs. I have no interest in a man who'd sell his soul to the world government, which is exactly what people think of him. Alright, I see what people are talking about with this this time thing. Now that I'm rereading this scene between Shanks and Gaban, I don't. Man, this time thing's weird. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but what's it been? 3 or 4 years? Are you kidding? Captain died 10 years ago. Has it really been that long? It must feel like an eternity for you then. So I guess the implication is that time moves slower on the outside. I like the mention of the Buggy thing. I do still want Buggy and Shanks to find the One Piece together. What was the point of Gaban bringing this up? He's like, you're a child of fate. Don't bother thinking of the tricky little details. You remember Little Garden, the island where we met Dory and Brogy? Of course. And then we just go into this Ripley stuff, and he never says, like, what was important about them going to Little Garden. What was important about Little Garden? I'm done with my reread. Let's look at the chat here. Kev said, Sanji definitely heard something. Luke said earlier it has to be Gaban telling him he has Conk. Yep. Barry said that panel scared me at first. Nice moment of dramatic irony, introspective Sanji. Bond secretly tells Sanji he has the power of love. Scabber told Sanji something we haven't heard yet. Yep. Saeed said, to be fair, Supreme King is a viable translation. How? Japanese means supreme ruler, autocrat, Dynast, high king. It's just a mouthful. Whether it's literal or not, I mean, sometimes, you know, it is... It's better to get the snappier thing out there. Conqueror's hockey. Supreme King hockey. Hockey of the Supreme King. You know, it's... you know, when things start having too many words in them, then it gets clunky. He said, Sanji got info we didn't. He's going to come in clutch. We'll see in a big moment we aren't expecting, like back in pre-time skip. I love that. I mean, that's I'm just trying to draw everybody's attention to it if they didn't see it. Luke said him having the power of love, something he said for years, if it becomes the thing, would be peak. Sanji's royalty, he's bound to have conquerors sooner or later anyway, so Chin. Gary Bloodboard said people have pointed out that panel of Sanji reacting to the Scopper. Good. I'm at the part where everybody is reacting to me, reacting to Loki. Gary said the stench of all things. Yeah. He's definitely got that. Big Stinky said, Loki's got nothing on me. Alright, Big Stinky. Kev said, Randy, it could be that Gaban is still passing 10 years, but for the Giants, it only feels like 3 or 4. Yeah, but I mean, for him to also say that it doesn't feel that way, like I don't know, that's the confusing part about it, and I'll see how Oda goes about it, but I'm like, at first, I'm like, I'm hesitant to start going into this like time dilation stuff. Buggy's the true brother of Shanks, not Shamrock. Yep. Luke said, I don't think there's any mystic time dilation or anything. The Giants age slow. He only sees Giants. His sense of time is warped. Does it need to be more? I mean, I hope it's just that. Like, that's simple. Moonkey556 said some fans denied that Dory and Brogy have seen Roger, so they can't be trusted to compare Shanks' hockey to Joy Boy. Well, I was saying for a long time, there's like a moment in Little Garden where Dory, if I'm not mistaken, it was Dory, he's talking to Luffy about other people that have been to the island. And I said, well, I mean, that had to have been Roger and Shanks. And it was something that I also talked about a lot when it was obviously implied that Shanks, Dory, and Brogy had met in, what was that, 1063 or something like that. Like right before he wipes out Kid. But the big panel of everybody, and then, you know, Dory and Brogy in the back with the Shanks pirates in front. It's implied that, you know, they had met. And it's like Dory had said, oh, you know, there was only like one other crew or something like that had like challenged the waters and didn't want to stay the entire year and didn't die. And it was just like, all right, well, it was probably them. And it also makes sense, like, if Roger was there, right, and he had his illness, and it was like right after they had just picked up Crocus, that they get to Little Garden, and it's like, hey, you need to be here for a year. And we already know that, like, Roger doesn't have a year. It's like, well, we got to keep going and challenge fate, right? And it's just like, okay, well, he's a child of fate. So it's like, is Gaban referring to that? You know, the idea that they, you know, decided not to wait out the year on Little Garden and just like roll the dice. But I mean, like when you have someone like Roger, unlike the Straw Hats at that particular time period, not to power scale, it's like, I'm not worried about Roger and Scopper and Rayleigh like surviving, just leaving Little Garden. So I don't understand what the significance is of even bringing Little Garden up. Nakama Camping said, remember Louis Arnault didn't stay long on Elbaf, so we have to observe Gaban to understand this quote. Yeah, I know. That's the thing that everybody's referring to when they're trying to figure out what any of this, like, time stuff means. I don't know, guys. Emil said, Shanks did seem like he was going to say something about Little Garden before Ripley interrupted. Yeah, which is why I wanted to know what it was. Like, were they going to talk about Louis Arnault? Were they going to talk about, like, you know, like, is Little Garden more important than we think? Like, why is it still prehistoric? Like, what's the thing? Chin said, did I notice young girl Oimo and Kashi? Yes, I did. But we've seen them with them before. We know that they were part of their crew and everything, obviously, from Enies Lobby and etc. Aether said, petition to change naming. What we call advanced conquerors is Ryu plus base conquerors. Combat conquerors. Kaido still referred to Luffy as somewhat shoddy. We learned the actual advanced combat conqueror hockey this arc. I mean, I'd love to just give it a name, you know. Combat Conquerors, I mean, that's pretty good. They're going to continue calling it Advanced Conquerors, but it's like, it's very, I don't know, it's all confusing, you know. The hockey is like the Force. Star Wars, it's just as confusing. It's like, you know, you pull a lightsaber from across the room. You can communicate telepathically. You know, you have telekinesis. You can you can do lightning. You can you know, all kinds of weird things. And it's like that's what hockey is too. It's all kinds of weird things. I don't think that Alex, I don't think the Herald flashback needs any Brook stuff in it. Brook isn't even born yet. He's not going to be born for at least 20 years here. So, because this is 109 years ago, Brook's 90 years old. I don't mind if we start like jumping around from time periods with Herald, but I think we would be underserving Brook if we just tucked information about him inside this flashback. I want that to be its own separate thing, but if it is, it needs to feel motivated. It needs to feel like what happened to Brook when he was younger with the Holy Knights and all that stuff ties into this whole Herald stuff now. But the problem with that also is that that's when things start feeling convenient for the sake of serving the story rather than serving the character. You know, it's like at the moment that we find out that Brook has a connection to one of these Holy Knights, we also learn that the king and everything on this island that we're conveniently on currently also had a connection to this and blah blah blah. And it's like, it's one of those things like, wow, isn't that great? And it's like, no, that's coincidence. It's one of the reasons why Sierra Village is considered, you know, one of the, you know, not great arcs of One Piece, right? Because the Straw Hats conveniently arrive on the island on the very day that Kuro is going to kill this girl. And it's like, wow, as fate would have had it, that's when the Straw Hats showed up. It's, you know, it's one of the reasons why, even though Skypiea is a better arc, it also falls into that same trap where it's just like, conveniently, Enel is going to destroy the island on the day that the Straw Hats arrived, rather than what the Straw Hats are doing or, you know, anything like that motivating the change. It wasn't like Arlong was going to go and randomly just start killing the entire, you know, island that day or whatever. No, Luffy came, and it just so happened to be that because Luffy was there fighting Arlong, everybody got liberated. You know, that's an example of a good situation. Locust said, I don't really like the time stuff either, but the story keeps dropping ends. If it's real, I don't like it, but if it means nothing, why mention it? Yeah, I know. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I'm just not going to pay attention. I'm not going to give it too much attention until it's actually explained and it means something, because it's too confusing at this moment to really try and formulate an interesting theory about it or anything. Kyoto said, Force even as life goes. Yeah, that was the other. I knew I was missing. There's so much stuff. Kev Dog said, if everything is too connected, it feels shallow and small world building. Exactly. You don't want everything to feel small. You want it to. It's like, you know, these things are coming together. Make it feel organic, not. You know, it's like if we learned about this Brook stuff, you know, 2-3 arcs ago, a couple years ago, or whatever. And then it just so happened to be that Herald had a connection with them then, but we've known about this for a while, then it's okay. But if you want to force it into all this, it just says, Oda, you just made this up. You just made it up. And I trust Oda to not do that. Big Stinky said, I like how accustomed to the Sunday streams I've gotten. I know all the music in order and my brain knows what's next every stream. You guys know the music better than I do because I don't hear it while I'm streaming. Only you guys do. Moonkey said, Loki's getting a flashback and gets asked by Luffy himself to join, which never happened to anyone since Jinbei's. Chances of joining are already higher than all past candidates in the new world. Luke said, still waiting on Tama for Nakama. Yep. Well, how did that whole situation end? Because I mean, it basically implied that, like, once Tama is a ninja or whatever, she'll be a part of the crew. That's what I got from their last interaction. Leonardo said, yeah, that's what Luffy said. Cone Killer said the Straw Hats conveniently showed up on the most important day thing is something that has lightly bugged me for some time. Yeah. Sonny said, hey Randy, was wondering what the song is at the beginning of most of your videos. It sounds familiar. So you're probably thinking of Die Legend. I don't put it at the start of every video, but I do put it at the start of a lot of videos, and I think it might be the first song on the, not that this always starts on the right song or whatever, but it's a lo-fi rendition of the German One Piece opening that they made. It's just a bop. It's just a bop. How long do I think this flashback will be? I can't say, but I hope that we're getting 2 to 4 chapters of this, and I hope that it transitions from Herald into a Loki flashback so that we actually get some Zebek stuff. That's what I want more than seeing anything about Brook. I want the Brook stuff to come from Brook. Like, we've already done a flashback into... We've already done a personal flashback into an omniscient narrator flashback into another flashback from another omniscient point of view. So it's like, it started from Loki's perspective, then somehow transitioned into Shanks and Gaban, which Loki would not know anything about. So then we're in omniscient territory. And then just starts following Herald, which none of these people would know, because Shanks and Gaban weren't alive yet, and Loki wasn't alive, and it's like and Herald's not alive. So there's layers of inception here, and breaking some rules, but it's Odo. We'll let it slide. Alex said, I think we forget that a large number of those asked to join the crew don't. Yeah, I love that Luffy asked, but I don't see it happening. I think that Loki is, for all intents and purposes, the Vegeta of this arc. Okay, so like, and it's like Namek Vegeta, Cell Saga Vegeta, not Saiyan Saga Vegeta. All right, so it's kind of already on our side, but he's going to be that reluctant anti-hero that's not like, he's never going to say, yeah, I'm part of the Z Fighters, but he is going to jump up and, shoot an attack at Cell from behind that's going to allow the final Kamehameha to beat him. So I think that that's like what will end up the equivalent of what we'll get Loki from this arc. Like, he's going to be working with Luffy side by side. He's going to be overshadowing Zoro and the rest of the crew. But him joining is like crazy because he can't fit on the Sunny. Like, what's the point? Jen said, which saga is Kids Vegeta in DBZ, Randy? Kids, like, I don't know, movie 5 or something, like the Cooler's Revenge movie. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Big Sneaky said, if you have time, play the Sparking Zero story model. The what ifs are awesome. Well, I love what ifs. But my what ifs that I want to see in Dragon Ball, or what if the story paid more attention to the human heroes? Like, I want to see what ifs where Yamcha and Tien are still rocking, like, I want what ifs where it's just more examples of like Tien holding Cell back for 4 hours. Like, those are the what ifs I want. If those aren't the what ifs I'm getting, and it's just what ifs about Saiyans, I don't care. I don't care.
I don't care.
At some point, I'd like to play the game, but it's like I'll wait for it to like jump on Game Pass or something, or get cheap. I don't have enough time for games anymore anyway, and it's like, and what time I do spend gaming, I just play Marvel Rivals. Super Vegeta versus Second Form Cell, I mean, that's kind of fun too. I see that. Kev said, from what I remember, there were Yamcha what-ifs. Now you have my attention. Cooper Wise, super appreciate it, said, Randy, there on Elbaf, Frankie could just make a second ship or upgrade to Sunny. Just thought of this. Doesn't hold a ton of water, but maybe. Yeah, I would love for the Sunny to get an upgrade. But the upgrade that I want for the Sunny is that it turns into a mech. You know, like... But it's also a thing where it's like the Sunny was built so that it is the ship that gets to the end. So it's like if it gets upgraded or changed in any sort of significant way, you know, it starts getting into like Theseus territory. And it's just like, is it the ship that Frankie built anymore? Like, is it the one that he intended to get to the end? Or is it something entirely different and new now? Kev said, can vouch that Randy is nasty at Marvel Rivals. Yeah, I'm Diamond. I'm trying to get to Grandmaster. Can't get out of Diamond. Trying, though. Big Sneaky said, Frankie's the Frankie of Theseus. Is it still Frankie? I don't know. And as much as I love Frankie, Frankie's in my top 3 Straw Hats. I am into the idea of Frankie getting destroyed in this arc, and the bounty poster being the foreshadowing for it, and then he's really the Frankie of Theseus, because he'll have to put himself together from basically nothing. Luke said, this is the most educational stream on the internet. Hey, you know? All right, guys. On that, I'm gonna wrap this up. But this has been fun. It went longer than I thought it would today. But you know what? It was flashback time. Alex, we did talk about the mark. It's on Summer's arm. It's on Kieran Ham's arm with a little bit of a difference to it. But I think Oda's making a reference to the Mark of Fellowship, the Mark of Friendship. X is on the arms. They're both on the left arms. And Shanks bet his left arm on a new era and no longer has the tattoo. So, Kev said that he got MVP, actually get a shooter. On Rivals, what character did you play? What character did you get MVP with? Felt liberating. Colonel Swampy said, hope all's well. Also hope Kaido is related to the late king somehow. I mean, look, the man's first line of dialogue is, I heard there's a beautiful princess here. This man is singularly focused. He is out here. There's chances that a lot of people are the children and offspring of Herald. Alright? This is, this man's the Robert Baratheon of One Piece. So. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, that's going to wrap things up for today. I'll see everybody for 11:53 next week. We'll continue flashback time. Later, everybody. God, he was strong then.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage. You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.